Hello, YouTube. So, got a question on the FN57 video. I said that don't bother to take down the barrel beyond here. The spring assembly is it's not permanently mounted, but essentially, unless that spring is broken and you're replacing it, or you've got rust or some other horrible issue, you don't want to take it off because it's a pain in the butt. There's These pieces are, to my knowledge anyway, all welded together. I think this is a one piece. I don't think it unscrews in any form that I'm aware of anyway. But what's going on here is you got the barrel and then this sleeve with the locking block. The spring is there, and then there's two things. There's this bushing, and then there's this snap ring, or basically it's a little steel ring in a groove between the silver and the black parts of the barrel, and that ring is sitting in the groove and prevents the bushing from getting past it. And so if we want to take this down, we have to remove the tiny ring so that the large ring can come off. Now, if you don't have the perfect tools for this, it's really a pain in the butt, and I don't have them, so you're going to see exactly the pain in the butt I'm talking about. So what I recommend is to try and make yourself something to use to hold the spring compressed. Because if the spring is pushing against us, we're not going to get that off, and even if we did with the spring pressure, it would launch everything across the room. So what I've got here is I'm going to compress the spring, and I'm going to take a pipe cleaner, and I'm just going to wrap the pipe cleaner around the barrel and twist it so it's tight. Now that's enough that I can then push the spring all the way to the bottom, wrap it around the locking block, and that's going to hold the spring out of the way from us and keep it from hopefully launching and mashing our fingers. So now what you should be able to see is that this little ring, there's a gap in it, and it can pretty much spin freely around, which is why it's such a challenge to get out. There's a very small gap, and there is a perfect tool in the world, a ring spreader, that basically can go in there and then push apart those two. I don't have anything like that, so what I have is tiny screwdrivers and a hobby knife right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hold the one side of it down with the little screwdriver and try and work the hobby knife under the other side. And what I want to do optimally is just get this far side popped out of its little groove, and hopefully in a way that I can hold it there long enough to get something like my thumbnail into the groove to block it from snapping back into place. So I'm going to try that right here right now. And alright, so now I've got it started. I'll try and flip my hands around and get my thumbnail in there, and looks like I pulled it off. So now I can use the knife to work my way around and try and slide that ring all the way. Whoops, my spring holder is giving way on me. I've almost got the snap ring out though. So I've got the snap ring off with great effort, and I can feel that the other part is releasing. So there's nothing here but that groove, and that means that now I can come and hang on to my spring, undo my pipe cleaner. I should probably twist the bottom end of the pipe cleaner. I didn't, and mine is starting to slip. I'm holding the heck out of this because there's a lot of spring force, and I'm going to start to just gently let up on that. And you can see that's how far that spring wants to come out when there's nothing holding it in. And here's the bushing I was talking about that sits on the end. So the spring just slides off after that, and the bushing can freely move on this. If the ring is in place though, it creates a little ledge there that the bushing can't push past. Once the gun is in battery, it actually even offsets the bushing a little bit more. That little clip is not actually taking the force of recoil. That's done on the frame of the gun itself. So if we actually grabbed this, when the whole thing's in place, that ring, if the spring was on, you do have to compress it just a little bit to get it in there, and it's under spring tension, which means that that bushing and that ring system, it's only holding things together when they're outside of the firearm. So now that we got it off, we got to hope we can get it back on. And I will tell you that this is not something you can do a whole lot of times. This, I got pretty lucky on my ring. I've taken it off maybe 5 times, and it's still more or less in the same shape. It's a little beat up, but it hasn't gotten wider. So that means it's a pretty good spring. So even though, it comes off at different angles and rates and all that, it pretty much maintains its shape pretty reliably, which is good news for me. While you've got this off, you can get in there with some patches and clean it, re-oil it, however you want to take care of it. Whatever reason you had for taking it off, you should now be able to address. But again, nothing else here that I'm aware of comes apart. I wasn't going to check this up in a vise and just crank on it. These do look like possibly that they are screwed together, but I really didn't want to find out, to be completely honest, because even if they did unscrew, I'm not sure how that would help you take anything apart, and my guess is that they're in all likelihood welded together. I don't know. I didn't have any reason to take them apart. Maybe if you were doing a barrel conversion to another caliber, but at that point, why would you have this particular gun? It's all about the 5.7 caliber. So, with all that said, let's prove that it can actually go back together. And this is even more challenging. Again, I've got my little pipe cleaner that's just the right size to hold tight against this, and I need to now compress this spring and get the bushing on. Now the bushing has a beveled end, that's the out, the front, and then the wider end is the back. And so basically I just got to push that down, make sure my bushing is on the right way forward, like that. And again, this is pretty painful on the fingers. Get this guy slid on and down there. Ugh. All right, I push the whole kit and caboodle down as far as I can and get that wrapped around. And this time I'm going to be a little smarter and actually twist it once so that it holds a little firmer. Put a twist in it so it didn't slide. Just wrapped it around last time it started to move on me. So now that our spring is held in bay, you can see the dents on my finger from that. We just got to get this clip back on. And what you want to be careful of when you put these clips on is not to lose them, launching them across the room, and to also not spread them any wider than you have to. So if you get one side started, you kind of work your way around to get the other side started on as well. So you can see now the clip is all the way on, but it's being stretched out, so we don't want to leave it there long. And we want to get it slid down into its groove right away and make sure that it's coming back to its closed position pretty reliably. If there's too much slack in there, if this thing is spinning around wildly or does not feel like it's clipped back, or you really did bend it, buy yourself a new one from FN and replace it, because otherwise when you go to disassemble it, it's possible that bushing could blast right past it and send your spring flying. So now again, I'm going to hold down my spring while I undo my fancy pipe cleaner mechanism, and now we've got our barrel assembly, barrel and recoil spring assembly put back together. And now that it's together, we can see that yes, when we put it in there, it does actually stay under some tension, which means that ring isn't really, the small ring isn't really doing anything right now. You can actually, you probably can't see it on the video, but if you get a nice bright light down in there, you can see that ring, and even potentially note that it's, if you reach in there with something, that you can even reposition the ring, because it's not under pressure from the big spring in this exact, I mean, it's close, but not quite. And that's why we have to put it under a little bit more pressure to get it out. And once it's out of the gun, again, though, now it really is resting right on the spring, on the clip. So that's how you, if you don't have the right kind of ring spreaders, that's how you can do it with just a small screwdriver to hold down one side, and another small screwdriver or a hobby knife to work your way under the other side. Be careful if you're using a hobby knife; they're sharp as hell, and they'll go right through your fingers. I've done that more than once in my life. So that's the 5.7 barrel assembly, and put this guy back together. And we're good to go. Hope you had fun. Stay safe.